47 seconds. Deborah Ross took 47 seconds to ask a single question, and instead of answering, Attorney General Pam Bondi said she hoped a convicted pedophile's accomplice would die in prison. But she said hopefully, definitely not. Keep this difference in mind, because it understands the whole story. February 11th, 2026, House Judiciary Committee, 2:47 p.m. Bondi had been giving his testimony for 5 hours. The Epstein files had dominated every question. Redactions, missing names, sealed evidence. Bondi had deflected every question, attacked every interrogator. He attacked Jamie Raskin, attacked Dan Goldman. He attacked Thomas Massey. Every question was met with a counterattack, not an answer. And then Deborah Ross stood up. Representative from North Carolina, former state attorney general, someone who knows how federal prison transfers are authorized, what level of approval is required, and whose signature is necessary for them to proceed. He had waited for hours, watching the clashes of the other members. He hadn't come to debate. She had come to get the answer to one question. Who had Ghislaine Maxwell transferred to a minimum security prison? First, you need to understand the background. Ghislaine Maxwell, partner in Jeffrey Epstein's child sex trafficking, convicted in 2021. He was sentenced to 20 years. He was placed in FCI Tallahassee in Florida. Cell-based, fenced, controlled movement. Standard protocol for a conviction of sex trafficking. Then something changed. In August 2025, Maxwell met with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Blanche was former President Trump's personal defense attorney. Details of the meeting were not made public. No official announcement was made. And days later, Maxwell was transferred from Florida to the federal prison camp Bryan in Texas. But the main critical point was this. FPC Bryan is not an institution at the same level as FCI Tallahassee. There are 5 classifications in the federal system: minimum, low, medium, high, administrative. Maxwell was moved from low security to minimum security, one full step down. There are no cells in FPC Bryan. There are dormitories. In some sections, there isn't even a fence. An institution designed for white-collar crimes, in the final months for inmates who do not pose a security risk. Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted of abusing young girls. More than 10 years of his 20-year sentence are still ahead of him. This profile does not fit that institution. Then reports started to emerge. It was claimed that Maxwell's conditions in Bryan were not ordinary. Private exercise sessions, personal mail services, therapy dog, secretarial support. Things that normal prisoners do not have access to. Victim advocates demanded an explanation. Congress called for an investigation, and the Bureau of Prisons under the Department of Justice did not provide an official justification. Maxwell, however, spoke about these conditions, and her words were recorded. The food is much better, the place is clean, the staff is responsive and kind. I am happier here, and most importantly, I feel safe. Safe. Feeling unsafe in a low-security facility and safe in a minimum-security place with less supervision seems contradictory. Only official investigation findings, internal reports, and oversight mechanisms can clarify this issue. Ross knew this, and he was ready to ask for an answer. Ross began calmly. Attorney General Bondi, does a convicted sex offender like Ghislaine Maxwell deserve special treatment and privileges in prison? Yes or no? He asked. The question was clear, but Bondi did not answer, claiming she did not know if Maxwell had been transferred to a lower security facility. Ross interrupted. Who transferred her to a minimum security prison where she doesn't belong? At this point, the situation took a different turn. Bondi's answer surprised everyone. I was not aware that this transfer would take place. He paused. Think about it. The Attorney General, who oversees the department that supervises the Bureau of Prisons, was not aware that one of the highest-profile inmates, who was a co-defendant of Epstein, was going to be transferred. That claim cannot be presented as verified information, but Bondi's words are on the record as sworn testimony. Ross continued, whenever he received a privilege, and this was reflected in the public eye, those sitting here, the survivors who were harmed, feel deprived of justice. They are being re-traumatized. They are experiencing trauma again. Bondi tried again. I also say that he shouldn't receive special treatment. I later learned he was transferred to an institution of the same level. This is a question for the Bureau of Prisons. I was never involved. 3 claims in 4 sentences. First, same level institution. Minimum and low security are not the same level in the federal system. Maxwell was downgraded 1 tier, and that creates an officially verifiable classification difference. Second, Bondi said, I was not involved. The Bureau of Prisons is under the Justice Department she runs. Whether a transfer of this magnitude requires knowledge at the department level is still debatable. Third, Bondi said she didn't know. If she really didn't know, that raises serious management issues. And if she did, it raises other questions. Both options require accountability. But there is a noteworthy detail here. Ross asked who authorized it. Bondi's answer was not informative. Instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who I hope dies in prison, you should talk about Irina Zarutska, the Ukrainian woman killed on the bus in Charlotte. You don't talk about it. The room fell silent for a moment, then rippled. They laughed, not to applaud, but at how blatant the dodge was. Bondi had been asked about a federal prisoner transfer, but her answer was to hope for that prisoner's death and to raise a completely unrelated murder. Irina Zarutska is a real tragedy. A Ukrainian woman killed in Charlotte in August 2025. A terrible crime. Ross had addressed this issue, had worked on it. But that was not the subject of that trial. Ross did not withdraw. I have also addressed that issue and I am working on these matters. But now, let's turn to you. The emphasis on you was perfect. Bondi couldn't handle this. Being the center of attention, being questioned, being accountable for the decisions of your own department. Yes, of course, because you are obliged to give a statement here. This is the whole purpose of the initiative. So of course we are turning to you. Everything is about you. Ross's answer was devastatingly simple. I'm not here to testify before Congress. You are here. This is your task for today. It seems your message is empty. Could you please provide the text you'd like me to translate? And this changed the course of the trial because Ross still hadn't received his answer. Who transported Maxwell? Bondi did not say. Ross continued. Does President Trump plan to pardon or commute Maxwell's sentence? Should she be released, yes or no? You said you hope she dies in prison, so I hope your answer is no. Bondi's response. I've already answered that question. He hadn't answered. He had said he hoped he would die in prison. But hope is not a commitment. The Attorney General did not commit to Maxwell serving her full sentence. He didn't say he would oppose clemency. I hope, he said. Then he brought up Irina Zarutska once again. But the main critical point was this. Look at the timing. August 2025. Maxwell meets with Trump's former personal attorney, Todd Blanche. Days later, he is transferred to FPC Bryan. September 2025. Reports of special privileges emerge. October 2025. Maxwell's lawyer announces that her client will fully cooperate with Trump in exchange for clemency. In the same statement, both Trump and Clinton are claimed to be innocent. February 9, 2026. Maxwell invokes the Fifth Amendment, refusing to testify before Congress. February 11, 2026. Bondi refuses to say who authorized the transfer. This is a pattern allegation, not officially verified, but a publicly available timeline where every element is recorded. When the pieces are put together, what is seen is left to the viewer's own interpretation. Ross created an account. Every denial, every evasion, every attack is now in the records. The congressional testimony was given under oath. Ross asked the right questions, clear, directly. It's impossible to misunderstand. Bondi's failure to respond says as much as any answer would. If this transfer is routine, an innocent bureaucratic decision, Bondi would say so. He didn't say it. He attacked. The victims were sitting in the gallery. They heard Bondi say, "I hope he dies in prison," and then that he wouldn't commit to keeping him there. They heard the beatings. They heard the attacks, and they know what it means. Even after conviction, even while serving the sentence, those connected continue to be protected. Those who might be useful are given special treatment, and the people who have been harmed are still waiting. What will happen now? Will the committee request documents via a court subpoena? Will journalists investigate? Will an insider speak out? Will Maxwell receive clemency? These are the questions that will determine whether accountability will happen. Ross did his part. He asked the questions, recorded the refusals, and made the pattern visible. Now it's up to the others. Maxwell is in a minimum security prison, questions unanswered. The Minister of Justice did not say who made the decisions in his own department. 47 seconds. That's how long Ross took to ask the question. Bondi didn't answer. He just said, "I hope." And "I hope" is not a commitment.